Cape Fear Business Roundtable is sponsored by two branding partners located under one roof right here in southeastern North Carolina. Pioneer Strategies is a strategic communication firm focused on helping you build success through effective strategic communication. Pioneer Specialties is your promotional products partner, ready to help you through the entire process from product research through product delivery. For more information about our sponsors, visit capefearbusiness.com.
Welcome to Cape Fear Business Roundtable. I'm your host, Frank Williams, and today we have with us Daniel Richardson, who is the Career Ready Coordinator at Brunswick County Schools. And we'll talk in a moment about how that ties into business because there is certainly a connection. But Daniel, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
And obviously, before we get into business, I'd like to ask a few personal questions. So let's talk a little bit about, where you're from and all of that. We're in a fast-growing place with lots of people moving in. So tell us where you're from, and if you're not from here, how you got here, and if you are from here, why you stayed here.
Yeah. So I am a proud local uh, Brunswick County boy. So I grew up on my grandfather's farmland in Shallotte. Attended West Brunswick High School, Shallotte Middle School, two schools that I actually ended up teaching at once I came back to teach. So met my wife in 7th grade. We've been together since high school, and we both work in education, attended UNCW, and we really just never had a desire to leave, which is understandable. Everybody else is trying to get here.
Right.
Why would we want to run away?
And I'm also a native. I grew up in the Leland area in a little community called Northwest. You can
Yep.
see up on the shelf behind me, there's a little gold megaphone that says North Brunswick Scorpions on it. So I went to North and did live away for a while. I went to college and then moved back. And one of the reasons I lived away is there weren't careers here and there weren't opportunities to work here. And that's hopefully changing, but it's not there yet. But well, let's talk a little bit more about what you like to do when you're not at work. What are your favorite things to do or places to go in this part in Brunswick County when you're not at work?
Yeah, so I love being outdoors. So I love to take my kayak out and go fishing in the waterway. I've been a tennis player most of my life, and now my daughter is playing for the West Brunswick tennis
Cool.
team as a freshman. So she keeps me out on the court now all the time. So I enjoy being out, active.
It's interesting when you watch your kids or other young people in your family suddenly become as good, if not better, athlete than you were. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's the case, but I'm guessing it might be. I've got my nephew has a son that's on JV basketball and varsity track at Hoggard over in Wilmington, and it's amazing to me that he's big enough to even be in high school, much less competing at that level.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I told her this weekend, I said it's not gonna be long before I'm holding you back. But But for now, Dad still got her.
For now, in about a year, we'll do this again
Yeah.
and see how it stands then.
Yeah. A year, I'm toast. Yeah, I'm done for.
Well, let's talk about your role. Obviously, you're the career ready coordinator. Talk about what that means and what you guys do.
Yeah. So the career ready coordinator. Some other districts refer to this as a work based learning
Right.
coordinator. My primary role is to connect our high school CTE students, our career and technical education students, with businesses and industries that are willing to work with them to extend what they've been learning in the classroom into on the job experiences that allow them
Right.
to really take that experience and apply that to real world opportunities to grow out their career readiness and also help them to understand, is this something I want to pursue after graduation,
Absolutely.
or is it not, or is there some area of this career that I had not considered prior to this experience?
And I think that's so important. When I went to North, I thought I was going to be a computer science major when I got to college, and that's what I started out in.
Mhm.
And thankfully, I co-opted in it.
Yeah.
And I co-op for 2 semesters, and I realized that for me, it was a very fun hobby that I did not want to do professionally. And then I had to go find something else that was not related to that, but I might have pursued a degree that wasn't for me if I had not had that opportunity. And then now being a business owner, it's so much better when somebody has some real world experience they can show you as opposed to just the classroom theory. So I think to me, those are 2 very important things about it. Talk about some of the types of roles that students can work in and what types of students you place and where you would place them.
So we're operating out of our career and technical education pathways. So, for a lot of folks that, like myself, may have attended high school in the previous century, you'll often hear terms like vocational education.
Right.
And vocational education is very much a part of what career and technical education is, but it's so much more than that now. So we have a lot of traditional trades classes. We have construction, automotive, we have culinary arts, the types of things that you would traditionally see in a vocational um, set of courses. But we also offer some pretty high tech things now, including things like aerospace engineering or cyber security.
Right.
We do public safety, so we're preparing folks to enter law enforcement, firefighting. CTE in Brunswick County, we offer courses based on uh, collecting data on what we see as the economic trends for the region, where students can actually get jobs, because we believe that a major role of high school is to prepare those students to leave, knowing or having some idea of what they want to pursue. And to your point, um, it's pretty expensive to go to a university to do career exploration. So let's do it now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, I really love this, and now this helps me know that it's what I want to do. Or I don't love this. In fact, we had an intern last summer, and she, an excellent intern, great student. She wanted to be a dentist. That's what she said. So we got her a placement at a dental office. And then come to find out, she didn't really like people's mouths. That's a handy piece of information to have
Right.
while you're in high school, as
Abs-
opposed to your first year of dental school.
And I think that's a perfect example of why this is so important. And I also think it will actually help encourage students to consider trades that they might not otherwise consider. And I know, like you, I went to school in the prior century. I was class of '88 at North Brunswick, and it was kind of drilled into our heads just in general that you needed to go to college and get a 4-year degree and get a white collar job. And that those who did that were somehow better than those who didn't. And I think that was a disservice to so many people, because a lot of people now run up debt pursuing a degree that doesn't have a job, and the jobs they do get, they don't like.
Right.
Whereas you can connect them early on with jobs they may not even consider, and they find out they're perfectly wired for it. And, they might turn that job as a plumber into a plumbing business one day.
Absolutely, and same experience for me. The idea that you would go to college was sort of like it was the thing you had to do.
Right.
But there has been, and I think we're seeing this shift along educational leadership as well as the business and industry community, where we recognize, we're losing a large portion of skilled workforce to retirements.
Yes.
And, we need the next generation of plumbers and electricians and linemen and those jobs. And the reality is there's some tremendous incomes that can be made with little to no educational debt attached to them. So there's a shift in the overall mindset, and I feel like what we're doing in Brunswick County Schools is responsive to that shift, in that we're offering programs that very much might lead to college degrees, like health science and things of that nature. But there are so many good career opportunities, and I think that's important to separate the idea of a job from a career.
Yeah.
Career opportunities for students that don't necessarily require that 4-year degree. On the flip side, the other message that students, I think it's important for them to understand, is regardless of the path, there will be training, there will be education. So the best idea, the ideal situation would be students leaving high school prepared to go to college if they choose to, but also aware of other opportunities that might be more in line with what they're looking for. One of the things that we really want to prepare students for is for them to have the opportunity to explore those things that they want to do as a career, not a job, but something that they're passionate about, that they're interested in, that they have talents in. And I think that's an important distinction for students to understand. And what we're doing in Brunswick County Schools is trying to provide those opportunities to explore all of those different types of jobs that might be in an industry that would appeal to a student's talents and interests and abilities.
And obviously, some of these might put a student on a career path that doesn't take them through a 4-year degree. But are there other training that you would see that person dealing with in the workforce, or whether it's at a community college? I think people need to know that just because they're not going to college, that doesn't mean they're not going to have education.
Absolutely. So the message is always, we want students to leave high school being prepared to go to college if that's what they need in order to do what they want, but also understanding that if they choose a route that doesn't require a college degree, that there's still going to be training, there's still going to be courses, there's still going to be things that they're going to need to do in order to be qualified to do that job or to move up to the next level. We have a great partnership with Brunswick Community College. We work with them very closely, and they're big supporters of what we're doing with our CT programs. And so we always try to make sure students understand, here's your next step when you leave high school, or while you're still in high school, you can tap into what the community college has to offer, and that may get you exactly what you need, or it can be a stepping stone to that next level.
And I think those are such great resources that if they were there when I was in school, they certainly weren't there on the scale that they are now. And it gives today's students such an opportunity to be more prepared for a real career than my generation ever had. So I think that is excellent. And I was going to ask you about Brunswick Community College. You already touched on that relationship. Is there anything else you want to say about our community college?
Well, so students in high school have the opportunity to take courses, and even back, maybe when we were in high school, they had dual enrollment, and essentially that's what we still have today. It's Career and College Promise, CCP. But they have the offerings have just expanded so much. If a student wants to take college prep courses while they're in high school, they can get some of that out of the way. If they want to take a welding class while they're in high school, that's an option
Right.
too. And it's just, they're getting high school credit, they're getting the community college credit, there's the guaranteed transfer for college transfer courses. I mean, I think the key word, and you said it just a moment ago, is opportunity. And my message to students when I meet with them is take advantage of everything that's being offered to you while we're here to support you in
Right.
it, to cover the cost of it. There's so many things that students can tap into if they are willing to step out and explore.
Yeah. Let's change gears a little bit. Obviously, you guys work with businesses to get so that the students that you're working with have an opportunity to work in a business. Tell us about some of the businesses you work with and also some of the areas where you may have holes. And if there's someone who's watching this who's in a business where you have a hole, how they can connect you and get plugged in.
Sure. So a big part of my job is interfacing and networking with businesses and then also business adjacent organizations like chambers
Right.
in order to build this network of industry partners that are willing to work with our students in some capacity. Obviously, I would love an opportunity to be able to place students in different businesses, but there are other ways businesses can work with our students, including mentoring, guest speaking, site visits, because, and it's a really great opportunity, I believe, for our businesses that participate with us because they get a few things out of this. One, they get exposure, but two, they get a chance to uh, sort of inform the student's mindset about their business, their industry, and what can happen. And also, as they partner with us, they can help influence the decisions that the district makes in terms of what are the next CTE courses that we're
Right.
going to offer for students. So if it's a need that you see and we can offer that, so there's a lot of great benefits and for our businesses. And the other part of it is too, a lot of our business partners have found that um, they that these students are quite useful. That for a lot of our business partners, there's some initial hesitation about bringing on high school students. Um, is I mean, everybody talks about the kids these days, but the reality is we have some amazing kids these days, and so some of our businesses that might be like, well, I don't know if I have the time, if I have the capacity. But a lot of those businesses, once they've had an intern or two, come back and say, I need another intern because they're not just the goal isn't just for students to observe, it's for them to engage where they
Right.
can, right? And So some of our businesses have really found that these students are useful and have even, in many cases, hired them while they were still interns or hired them after the fact as employees. So it's a pipeline infusion for them. As far as the areas that we place students and where we're looking for placements, um, so we can place students in any of our CTE pathways, which are pretty expansive. My largest areas of need are health science. We have a huge demand for health science, but we do have good partnerships with Dozier Memorial in Southport. Novant has been a great partner, and so we're working through some of their programs. And then we have some independent local, offices and practices that are working with us, everything from dental and chiropractic to veterinarian. Um, but I always need more placements for
Right.
those students. And then one of the emerging areas that's been tricky is actually engineering. I have a few requests for engineering that have been challenging to fill. And understanding these students are high schoolers, I
Right.
want to point out too, though, for CTE internships, we don't place students at random. So one of the things they have to do in order to qualify is to complete a CTE pathway in the area that they're doing an internship.
Okay.
So if they're doing an engineering internship, they've taken our engineering classes before they do the internship. And I think that's an important distinction for our business and industry partners to understand, is that we're not sending them in necessarily without some perspective.
Right. That that makes good sense. When you mention engineering, is there any specific set of engineering? Obviously, you've got electrical, civil. Is there any niche within that you're specifically looking for?
Right now, it's a lot of those students are like, I will take any experience I can get in the engineering field.
Okay.
Our major course that we offer, or set of courses, is actually aerospace
Okay.
engineering. But the reality is, the engineering design process is transferable across, lots of those fields. We also have some courses like technology, engineering, and design, and a lot of our STEM-based courses. So, a lot of our aerospace students understand that they may not get an aerospace specific placement. We
Right.
actually just did one this year, a fully virtual internship with a medical engineering firm in Silicon Valley. So, we had a student that was doing an engineering internship out of our aerospace program, uh, doing some medical device engineering.
And that's a good question. So so there are some virtual options available as well where someone may be able to intern with an employer that's not even here.
That's correct. Yes.
And if a business wanted to connect with you to possibly plug in and offer an internship, how do they find you?
So you can find me on Brunswick County Schools website under Career and Technical Education, and my email address is linked there. And at this point, you could reach out to just about anybody in the district, and they could probably say, "You need to talk to this guy," because part of the job is to get out there and
Right.
and get this information out and share it with our partners so that we can expand that network.
Well, you're obviously passionate about this. Is there anything you want to tell us that you haven't covered, and tell us why you enjoy what you do?
Well, I'm a career educator. I've been with Brunswick County Schools for 23 years now in different capacities. Uh, but, and I'm also a dad of two girls. So what I love about what I'm doing currently is, I still get to work with students, which I think is important. But being able to sit down with them, talk about their goals, try to find a way to give them an opportunity to really explore that is, intrinsically, it's a great feeling. But I also know it's of great benefit to those students. And so when a student ends up getting a job, or they come back and say, I finished my internship and now I'm hired, it feels like a mission accomplished, on at least for that one. And so that's the motivation. That's the thing that keeps you coming back.
You know. Well, just a couple of questions, and then we'll close this out. I'll always like to ask people to share some advice. So I guess one question is, what have you learned during the course of your career that you wish you'd known when you started?
Uh, yeah, education is a complex career, and I'm not sure what I would have told myself exactly, other than to keep focused on the students. I think that's the key for good educators, is to always stay focused on the students. And so, if I were going to tell my younger self anything, that would be it.
And I guess a similar question, if someone came to you fresh out of college and said, "I want to be an educator, career educator," what would be something you would tell them that they should go make it a point to learn or to get some experience doing?
Yeah, I think that the best thing they can do is find those, and we have amazing teachers. So find one that you, or a bunch of them that you think are the teacher you want to become, and you watch
Right.
them and you learn from them and take what they do and figure out how to make it work within your classroom. And like any profession, there's always things, everybody's going to have a rough day from time to
Yes.
time, but again, staying focused on the fact that what you do matters a lot, I think is important.
And it's, and I commend everyone who works in education because it is so important. And, I don't have a ton of employees, but I have hired some usually right out of college. And I see where they're very brilliant, but there are a lot of things they're missing. So I admire those of you who are in that arena. I know it's probably been challenging with technology racing all of us and outpacing us to keep up with that. 20 years ago, who would have ever thought of a virtual internship?
Yeah.
And yet now
Yeah.
it's
Well,
probably commonplace.
yeah.
So I certainly commend all of you. And final question, and you can answer any of these you want to, but either what are you currently reading? What podcast do you listen to? Or if none of those apply, what do you like to watch on TV or movies?
So, yeah. So, unfortunately, it feels like I don't get to watch much on TV anymore.
I know how that is.
Yeah. So I'm currently into some audiobooks, and my genre is more in the fantasy and dystopian.
Okay.
I like fiction. I know a lot of people will say they don't, but I like stuff that just takes me to another place.
Right.
So I'm currently finishing up. It's more of a kind of a action horror trilogy, but it's the Strain trilogy. So
I enjoy reading fiction and I don't find as much time as I should, but it's a good chance to get away from everything. And when I'm
exactly.
reading a professional development book, I have a highlighter and a pen and a notepad. I don't need those when I'm reading fiction. All I need is my imagination. I think one of my problems is I read them so fast, I'm done almost as soon as I start because I blow through them. And and I'm always interested in the answers I get to that question. I had an economist who you've probably met that does a lot of things in this area, and if I recall correctly, his podcasts were about NBA basketball. Not what I would have expected, but
Yeah.
it's what he does to get away from work. And then other people, everything they read or listen to is about work. But
Yeah, for
Dan,
me, I like a little detour. Take me somewhere
and
else.
and get your mind off of it and let you decompress.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for everything you do. And for those of you who are watching or listening, we hope you'll tune in every week. And we hope if you're a business in Brunswick County and you have an opportunity, you'll reach out to Daniel and let him and talk with him about how you could have a student intern with you. Daniel, thanks again.
Thank you so much.